Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, who I believe is in Washington, D.C. Good morning.
Good morning. I am in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, what is the state of the Capitol?
Well, we're working on the defense appropriation bills and amendments right now, and working through those, and those will be coming up on the floor soon. We just had some votes on the rule and some other issues dealing with those and getting it going, but I'm watching the debate right now, so we'll be going back to vote one more time, I think, on a number of amendments.
There's a lot going on. First off, what did you make of the announcement by the Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy that he's retiring and therefore giving President Trump the opportunity to nominate another justice to the High Court?
I thought it was interesting. I mean, he's served a long time. I think he's 80. I think at least 80. President Reagan appointed him. I think he's been a good justice on the court. He's come the swing vote, but I think he's done an honorable job, and I think it gives the president an opportunity to put another like-minded Republican, or let's say a Republican or someone that thinks like a conservative on the court. We'll see who they choose. I know that the president already put out a list of all the people that he's considering, and we'll see who he chooses from that list.
And yet, we keep hearing that Jeanine Pirro, whose name apparently isn't on that list, would be an awesome choice. Donald Trump Jr. says Jeanine Pirro would be awesome for the Supreme Court. Several other people over the last day have been telling me they'd like Jeanine Pirro nominated. We know the president does have a lot of respect for Jeanine Pirro, who has her program on Fox News Channel. Do you think that the president ever would give any consideration to nominating her?
I'm not sure. I mean, she's a tiger, and she's got a very popular show, and we know she's got a little bit of a lead foot. There was recent news when she drove through, but I like Jeanine. I think she's really tough. I think she's strong. She's got a great resume. I just don't know if she's someone that they would choose for the Supreme Court, so I don't even know if she wants the position, to be honest with you, so I really I actually don't know if that she would even be. I don't think she's on the list, so I don't think the president's going to veer off the list. I think that he's got a team of people that are going to be considering and evaluating the qualifications of the people that are out there, people who are actually probably judges who've written a number of opinions, who have well-established legal doctrine or thought behind them. There's a number of them that have already written on the federal side. I don't think Judge Jeanine was a federal judge. I think she was a state judge. Right? I'm not really sure what her position was as a judge, but she's now a TV host and political commentator. So I would think that she's probably much more effective and powerful in the position she's in right now, and I think she loves it. I've met with her here in Washington. She did a speech and was very aggressive, and I think that's what she likes to do.
On the other hand, as someone who has lived in this part of New York State all my life, it would be pretty amazing to have an Elmira native on the Supreme Court.
That would be interesting, certainly, but I don't think we can just choose people based on where they're from. But I think I certainly think she can handle the job. It's a very, I think the people don't realize how all-consuming that position is. It's a complete honor to be a justice of the Supreme Court. It's a very rare opportunity that anyone would have the chance to do that. Most lawyers want to be a judge at some point, or they're interested in that because that's what you aspire to be in the position. My father was a Supreme Court justice for 35 years in New York, and one of the longest serving, and also, was formerly a trial lawyer and became a justice when he was elected when he was 38, and he's always been an inspiration to me because he was a person who grew up in a large and poor immigrant family down in New Jersey and ended up becoming a Supreme Court justice and a Cornell grad and a Colgate grad. So he worked his way up the hard way, but really obtained a really high position, of integrity, and was very well respected and had a lot of decisions that were pretty significant across the state. And so it is a position people aspire to have. There's definitely lawyers.
It should also be noted that the president, during some of his remarks at the rally last night in North Dakota, suggested he would be looking for a nominee who would be fairly young. He said we have to pick one that's going to be there for 40 years or 45 years, and if that's the criteria, if you think about Jeanine Pirro being 117 or 122 years old as a Supreme Court justice. That may not be the age group that the president's looking for. He obviously clearly wants to have a long-lasting impact on the High Court, whoever he nominates.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't know if that. I mean, I didn't see the president I was at. First of all, I did a telephone town hall yesterday. I hate to call them town halls because they become so politicized. So we had a telephone conversation with over 5,000 people last night, which was really good and really exciting to hear from people. And then went to an event later in the evening. I had to, because of the town hall, I had to go later to a special event where Bill Gates of Microsoft fame was speaking to members of Congress and guests and a number of people. So that was actually very interesting to hear from him, and very exciting. I didn't actually get to meet him and shake hands with him. They kind of whisked him out of the room, but that was fun. So it's been a very busy time here in Washington. A lot of interesting people coming into town to influence or provide their expertise to the legislature, and Bill Gates had a lot of ideas. Gave us a book that he suggested we all read, so it was interesting.
Should have mentioned that people in Binghamton and Utica would be really happy to get some new jobs if he knows anybody who could bring major
he kept
plans.
talking about his critical position with IBM, and I wanted to get through the crowd to him and say, hey, can you tell those people at IBM to bring those jobs back to Binghamton, because we really would appreciate it. But I didn't get close enough to him, so I wasn't able to say anything.
Next time I see Jenny Rometty from IBM, next time I'm down in Westchester County, I'll stop by without an appointment to see
We would be happy to take all those jobs back.
We would love it. We would love it. Actually, we have some available space for a tech park here in Binghamton, and we could arrange that too at probably a very reasonable price for IBM. It's 10:44. We're talking with Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. A major political development happened with the primary election on Tuesday. People are still talking about Joe Crowley losing to a 28-year-old political novice. What did you make of the result of that election in the 14th Congressional District, New York City?
Which way are you heading towards?
I thought it was pretty surprising, although I know that district has changed over the years that Joe has represented it. He's been a very, very nice, very cordial person to me, and I didn't know him in the Assembly, but I've gotten to know him in Congress, and look, he's been around a long time, and she's young, and she's very appealing, to the young audience, and she's an underdog. She was outspent, but I can relate to that, being outspent $16 million to $3 million, so I know what it's like to be in that position. But people are looking for a new voice. I'm a little concerned that she ran as a socialist and was able to win. I'm concerned that people think that socialism is the answer for what's going on in our communities. I can't think of anything, any system, more unfair and more mean to the general public than socialism, and it's been proven time and again throughout human history. But for some reason, it's appealing. When you tell people you can have free everything, people like to hear that. But nonetheless, we'll see how she turns out as a member of Congress. She may have to change her views when she gets down to D.C. and has to work with people who believe in, a constitutional republic, who believe in capitalism, believe in freedom, and so those are some things that she'll be confronting. And I'm sure she'll win her general election, because in New York City there really aren't.
It looks like it's in like a big building where there looks like there might be multiple
Democratic
things.
Primary. So, but she seemed, she seems like a very appealing take to the younger crowd, and maybe it was time for Joe Crowley to move on. I'm a believer in term limits. He's been around for a long time, and I think that
on the other side
people
of the street.
want to see new blood. And I do think it's going to be interesting, though. I don't think the type of socialism that she's selling is going to be appealing in upstate New York.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be appealing throughout the nation generally, maybe in some selected areas. But for the most part, I think that's going to be more of a problem for the Democratic Party. It looks like a real swing left. Well, it's interesting to see how it turns out. And maybe that's the big blue wave. The blue wave is actually within the Democratic Party. They're moving so far left that I think it's going to hurt them in the midterms, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it does make you wonder with people like Charles Schumer and Andrew Cuomo. are thinking now after that result that, let's be fair, nobody saw that coming. Political experts, media, the New York Times essentially neglected her, and basically Wednesday the Times was playing catch up as far as who is she, and a lot of people were saying, yeah, why didn't you tell us? You missed the story, like everybody else. I mean, it's easy to point a finger at one organization, but nobody saw it coming, and in a certain way, the way virtually nobody saw the results of the 2016 presidential election. I think the era of people thinking they know what's going to happen in politics, whether it's at the local, state, or federal level, I think that era is over.
I think it's hard to poll people, too, and hard to see what's really going on in a grassroots way. I know that just from me just going to so many events and meeting with so many people in so many different venues across the district, it's interesting what you hear in the media and what you think people are saying and what the pollsters are saying, and then when you actually get on the ground. And I think that's why there was a surprising poll that came out, this whole hysterical reaction to what was happening on the border, which, we all looked at it and said, oh my gosh, they're separating families. But when you went and looked at it, a significant majority of people said, why are parents bringing their children across the border or leaving them to go across the border unaccompanied with someone that could very well be a human trafficker or a drug dealer and not caring for them? And so instead of blaming the government, people were blaming the parents for not being responsible for their own children. And I think that was everybody looked at that in a shocking way. But, people care about family values and taking care of children. And I think that, parents who and especially parents who, I know like me, I had to raise my son as a single mom, and we protect our children, and that's our ethic. And what the ideal to obviously have both parents or parents that are committed to the children. But I think that was a surprising poll too that I saw. I said, wow. But I was getting that feedback I went out to a number of events. I did a town hall on Saturday, and I had a number of people there that even independents and Republicans and Democrats were all saying, what's wrong with these parents? Why would you do that to your children? Why would you let your children go? So I think sometimes it's hard to poll people because you can't really get at people that are busy. They're working. They're not necessarily on a regular phone. They're on a cell phone or they're on social media. And I know a lot of the younger generation just aren't necessarily answering their phones. They do a lot of texting. And so it's interesting. It's hard to get the data unless you literally are going to the doors and getting to people and finding them.
Speaking with Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, in the last couple of weeks, there was a media fixation on so many of the children who had been separated from their parents. Ultimately, the president did make an adjustment in terms of how the federal government was going to at least temporarily deal with the situation of children being separated from their parents. Do you think any mistakes were made in what happened before the president made his change in policy, announced that a few days ago?
Well, the president actually didn't initiate this policy. This policy has gone on for the past two administrations, all the way back from Bush to Obama. They were doing the same thing. There has been an increase in children coming across the border because the incentive to come across when you have an open borders policy, and all of a sudden people want to get in as soon as they can and take advantage of it. And some of them are legitimate asylum seekers, and that's what makes the challenge so difficult for the people at the border. I signed on to the bill that Ted Cruz proposed that is co-sponsored also in the House by David Bratt, that would protect the kids and parents, and that would make sure that we're not putting this policy forward, especially in the consideration of parents who are coming with children. But remember, the large majority of these people coming across the border were not with parents. So the statistics show out of the 12,000 children, only 2,000 were actually with parents, but still 2,000 is a lot of people, and we need to make sure we're careful and also prudent with dealing with the taxpayer money, but making sure we're doing this efficiently. And that's what our bill would do, is keep the parents together, make a quick adjudication, determine if they're actually asylum seekers or if they're illegal immigrants, and if they are, then we can expedite them and get them back to where their home country. And so this is one of the, this is where it's a problem. But remember, the American taxpayers are still the ones paying for this. We have a lot of veterans World War II vets, Korean War vets, people coming back from Vietnam, who were in Vietnam, who didn't really get the respect that they should have had, that are struggling to get benefits through our VA system, and some people are getting less than Social Security. We want to make sure that those people are getting their taxpayer earned benefits, and people who work to get their Social Security. So, again, the efficiency and how we're dealing with taxpayer money is important, but we also want to make sure that we're humanely dealing with these children at the border and making sure we're closing the border to people, so that if you're truly an asylum seeker, you're going to come to a proper port of entry and not just come across the border illegally. So there's a lot of issues at the border. There's a lack of resources that we have, but at the same time, we need to discourage people from coming across and thinking they're just going to move into the middle of the country. And we found that happen. A study was put out a couple of years ago that showed that there are a number of children that were brought across the border without their parents. They've been illegally used in human trafficking and terrible situations throughout the country and brought into the interior. And that has to stop, and we need to prevent that from happening. And it is an issue. People don't believe that's really happening in the United States, but it is. And
so when is Congress going to finally act on this? When do you think that there will be an agreement, and the House and the Senate can get something that'll be acceptable for the president and be acceptable to most of the American people?
Right. What's interesting is that we voted on a bill, the so-called Goodlatte 1 bill. I voted on that. I'm a co-sponsor. It basically has, everything that everybody wanted in it. And it got 20 more votes than we thought it was going to, 25 or so. But it didn't pass. Another bill came to the floor yesterday that was resoundingly voted down. And I was recently on Shannon Bream. She's a Fox host. I was on her show with Congressman Garamendi from California. And on the show, we sort of had a moment, and we decided we want to try to work together to come up with a bill, and we really want to bring the Democrats into this and have them be part of the solution. And we do, but more importantly, I think we can do that, but we need to get the Senate Democrats on our side too, and we're trying to work with the people on the Senate side. The president is very flexible. He's proven that he is willing to make a lot of concessions. I mean, under President Obama, for example, the DACA kids, the president authorized 690,000 estimated DACA children, giving them a path to legalization, but clearly not citizenship. In the State of the Union address, the president came out and said, we'll give all 1.8 million, including their certain family members, citizenship. So the president went above and beyond, and the reaction from the Democrats was, oh my God, the president's a racist, and he's against immigrants, when he went way beyond what President Obama went past. So we've got to get past this whole notion that just because it's from Trump or just because it's from Republicans,
no,
we're
it's
not going to
five.
support
Yeah,
it.
it's five.
And that's why we're trying to work with Congressman Garamendi. We're trying to work with members in the Senate. We just had a meeting earlier today with a bipartisan group to see if we can come up with a way to put a bill on the floor before
Well,
July,
actually,
the end of July,
I think I made
we go to our August
scanned a
recess.
copy in.
And I'd love to stay through August if we think we have a chance to solve this problem and come up with a bipartisan solution that we can. It's not going to be perfect. I know probably the left wing isn't going to like it, the right wing isn't going to like it, but we do need to resolve the problem in a fair and equitable way that respects the taxpayers, secures the nation, and makes sure that we are moving forward in a way that's going to be positive for the taxpayers. And so it can be done. I just think we need to everybody needs to come out of their corner and get together, and that's what we're trying to do.
It's 10:56. We have just a couple of minutes left with Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, who is speaking with us live from Washington, D.C. Another big story that happened, seems like ages ago, but it was only a few days ago, was last Friday when Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her party were apparently, politely, but still asked to leave a restaurant because some people at a restaurant in Virginia disagreed either with her political views or the work that she does on behalf of President Trump. What did you think of business, a restaurant in this case, essentially telling Sarah Huckabee Sanders to get out?
Well, I thought it was unfortunate that she would do that. There's nothing illegal about it. I thought Sarah Huckabee Sanders handled herself very well. She said, okay, I'll leave, and she even offered to pay when she wasn't even served, and she was denied service. But I think that's a First Amendment right. I don't particularly care for it, but it's just showing you how the intolerance.
Well, do people ever make make you feel unwelcome at a place of business because of your political views? We know people are very well, we're in a polarized situation right now, and it hasn't been just the last couple of years. It seems like the last decade we've been increasingly polarized. Have you encountered situations at businesses where people treat you poorly or don't want you there because they disagree with your views?
I haven't had anyone ask me to leave a business that in the dramatic fashion that happened with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I certainly had people. Never in my life until now, I'm a member of Congress, I've had people come up to me and recently in Binghamton, somebody came up and attacked me in a restaurant in downtown Binghamton and just, went bananas like crazy and, was very rude. But
verbally attacked.
Verbally. And I've had, last year I had tons of death threats, constant death threats, and we had a few earlier on this year that sort of died down for the moment. But look, people get all worked up over things, and I do wish we could go to a point where we can respectfully disagree and understand that that's where we need to go. I'm a lawyer, so I'm used to the more of the controversy. I'm used to debating and being in a situation. I used to do divorce cases. You get in a knockdown, drag-out divorce in court with the opposing counsel and the parties, and then when you walk out, you go into the coffee shop across the street, and you're able to sit down with the other lawyer and talk about other issues. And so we should be able to debate, we should be able to have our opinions, but we also need to respect the fact that we're not going to always agree, but we also have to respect that the First Amendment applies to everybody, and shutting people down or being rude to them is not the answer. And in fact, there are a lot of politicians who I have now met in D.C. who I would think that I probably wouldn't be friends with, who I'm actually friends with, and they're people that I've taken another chance at trying to see if there's somewhere where we can find common ground. And there is common ground, and I think we just need to find it. Even in our own families, I have a lot of Democratic family members, and so we don't, we have some lively debates at holidays, but we also love and respect each other at the same time, and we can do that. I think that's just going to be a challenge, and everybody's just got to bring the temperature down a little bit, and start respecting other people and their views.
Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, thank you for joining us this morning. Keep us posted. Watch out if you're going to be out anywhere this weekend. I guess it's going to be hot. Stay hydrated.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.